from a customer from Manchester. They would like to know, how is Century holding contractors and maintenance teams accountable for the service quality? And Craig, if you want to take that.
Thank you, Parag. This is one of my favourite subjects, might surprise people to know, simply because before talking about it, I want to say I want us to do more and more for ourselves with our own teams. That is our fundamental objective. I think we're in a better position to provide good customer service when it is Sanctuary's teams doing the repair work, when it is Sanctuary's people knocking on people's doors. So just to be clear, the more we can do for ourselves, the better. It gives us better control, better insight, and better accountability for the service we deliver. That said, we're never going to do all of our repairs ourselves because there is specialist work. There's also areas where we might have vacancies or there won't be enough resource of our own to cope with the demand at any given time. And we need to get it right with our contractors. Now, why is it one of my favourite subjects? It's because I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about this. It has simply not been one of our strengths in the past. And I'm pleased to say we are putting that right. And the first part of that has been employing the right people to lead the charge in this. Managing contractors is a particular skill set. Holding contractors to account for their contractual obligations is a particular skill set. And I don't think we've had enough of that in Sanctuary. So we've been putting that right. I'm pleased to say we have a new lead on the commercial side of Lizzie's area. And that person brings with them a huge amount of experience in this respect. So there's point one, getting the right people to do the right things for us in terms of managing contractors. The second thing which strikes me as obvious, and I'm pleased to say we have done this, is then getting the right contractors. And it's fair to say historically that might not have been the case. It's always a challenge because different parts of the country have different availability of contractors with the right skills and the right systems to deliver the right services to us. So we have been through a full exercise this year, tendering for our external contractors. Pleased to say that completed earlier this year. And as of the start of October, we have launched what we would call our new contractor framework. And that is, if you like, the startup of our new relations with our new contractors. And that is backed up by revised contracts, revised terms and conditions that are what we want them to be and what they need to be to deliver services to our customers. And it's also been led by our new commercial team as well, who will be overseeing those arrangements. And they've also put in place the right reporting mechanisms and the right communication structures with our local teams as well. Now, all of that theory is good, isn't it? It's all fab. The key question now is making it work. And we are literally in week 3 of getting these new arrangements in place, and it will be hard work, I don't doubt, to get it really running well. But I think we have stepped back, if you like, from our previous approach, drawn for breath, embedded all of the feedback we've had from customers about the performance or lack of performance of contractors historically, taken that into account contractually, put new skills in place to manage those arrangements going forward, and then we've just launched them. So I'm really, fingers crossed, looking forward to reflecting in 6 months' time as to how that has improved our services where Sanctuary is unable to do the work for itself. So there's a whole package of things there, I know, lots and lots in the detail, but I do think stepping back from what we've had before, refreshing our thoughts on it and putting in place new arrangements hopefully sets us up for some success in the future. And the key thing is making sure it feels like a Sanctuary person coming through the door, even when it's a contractor. So plenty on the go there, Parag, and I look forward to looking back on its success in the future, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on it as an exec team.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Yeah.
Just one little thing on that as well. We had our customers involved in the selection of our new contractors as part of that framework as well. So it's one of the first times we've brought customers into our procurement process. So we asked customers to score all of the applicants had to fill in tender documents, so almost an application to be a supplier for Sanctuary. And that's went through our commercial team and other corporate frameworks, but we also had our customers score all of those contractors, and that score was weighted and then fed into the decision making. So it was really exciting, big step for us to actually have the customer voice even before someone's become a supplier, really assessing those against what is important to our customers.
No, that's really, really helpful. And I think, you touched upon it earlier as well on the repair side of things that, you obviously initiate and feedback. So there is always the feedback loop where, we can provide particular instance kind of feedback, which I guess, would be also visible. So thank you very much for that. Bonnie, you would want to ask the next question, please.
I am indeed, and I think you touched a little bit on that question. So this is from one of our customers, and I hope they're on the call because there's a lot that's been said in relation to the question that they ask. A customer from Hull, they want to know how Sanctuary is closing the loop with residents when feedback or complaints are given. So over to you, Lizzie, please.
Yeah, thank you, Bonnie. I think I should probably start with, I think there's work that we need to do in this area to ensure that we close that loop. And there's a huge amount of work that's gone in the background that we now need to bring into perhaps more visibility for our customers. So we've talked about the real-time survey. So when you do make a complaint or there is a service issue, we do still ask you whether your feedback at the end of that process as well. And that is improving. It's nowhere near where we want it to be in terms of customer satisfaction in that area. But we then do something called You Said We're Listening, that again I touched on earlier, so that we go back to those customers when we can to try and say, you told us this was a problem and this is what we've done, or this is what we're doing about it. In some cases, we might have to say we're not going to do something with that feedback and this is the reason why. But again, it's about not having an empty space, isn't it? It's about making sure we're providing some form of information. And I think key in the complaints process and when we get things wrong is we're really, really keen to learn from our mistakes. So we have a root cause analysis team that we've created this year, and their job is to work really closely with our service improvement team. So those two teams, let me just sort of touch on what they do. So the root cause analysis team take our biggest issues, so the top things that perhaps either we've got wrong or customers have said doesn't work for them, and they try and unpick why it's going wrong. And they'll really dig into, deep down into the processes, and they'll map them out and they'll say, why is it that this isn't working and what do we need to do differently? And then they'll work out perhaps some recommendations of things that need to change. And we do involve our advisory and scrutiny panels in that process, and also communities of interest. Then that goes into our service improvement team. So I touched on earlier, safe, proud and respected, and everything really is linked to one of those three outcomes. But what do we need to change in terms of improvement? So maybe there's a system change that needs to be done. Maybe there's a training need. Maybe there's a specific problem in a specific geography that we need to tackle. Maybe there's a problem with a specific contractor and we need to have some conversations there. So it then turns it into really tangible actions where we can really look at how we drive and make things better. I think the thing that we need to do more of is tell you about that when we've done it and make it really relevant to you so that you get the information. And I think one thing that is also really exciting is that we do quality assurance on everything that we do. So we check that we've done it right. And we've always done that, but we now have customers quality assuring the complaints process as well. So whereas before we would go and have a look and we'd score our team against a framework to check they'd done it right, we also now have accredited roughly between 15 and 20 customers who came on a training course with us, and they are now checking our complaints. So we send them some samples of our responses to complaints and they check them and give us feedback. directly from a customer and directly from customers who have experienced complaints in the past. And I think that's been really, really exciting, because it's always been something that's been done internally, and now we've got the customer central to that. So really giving us local specific feedback about what customers want to see when we handle a complaint and what doesn't work for them, and then checking that we implement that on an ongoing basis. So again, I think some really exciting things that are helping close the loop, but I think we've done a lot in the background, and we now need to bring that to the foreground to let you know more about what we're doing.
Thanks, Lizzie. I also want to just add, feedback can be very positive as well as negative. So
Yes, of
I think
course.
something to be conscious of.
Our next question is from a customer from Colchester. And their question is, what are the changes, what changes are being made to ensure customer service teams are more responsive? Lizzie, if you want to take that from a customer perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a number of things we've done to try and improve responsiveness. We know that it can take too long to get through to us on the phone, as an example. So we are putting in a new system that improves that, that's going to go live next year. So from a systems perspective, again, Craig mentioned investment. We're giving the team a new customer relationship management system, which is it's a global system, so it's Salesforce, and it will enable us to better track and manage and support customers with their inquiries. That will speed up the incoming phone call too, because some of the things the team have to do at the beginning will be automated and built into that system. The portal that will go live following the launch of the new system will also help take some of the volume away from the phone for the customers that are happy to use the portal, which will mean that there's hopefully less queue time on those phones to get customers' phone calls answered more quickly. We also this year changed the structure of our call centre, so we call it our customer hub, because we really do believe it's important that customer is at the forefront of it rather than call centre. And we have localized those teams. So again, Craig said earlier he has an ambition to be the biggest national but local provider. And so we've taken our national strength in our customer hub, but we've segmented that into local teams. So for the first time this year, the teams are dedicated to specific regions. They have regional specific training so that they really understand the region they work in. So as an example, if you live in Cornwall and a repair operative needs to get to you in the summer, it's going to take a long time because all the roads are full of tourists and you can't get anywhere. If you live in London, it may look like you're half a mile away from where our engineer is and where he needs to go. He or she needs to go, should I say, but that half an hour journey might take 2 hours. That half a mile journey might take 2 hours. So they've had real insight into local knowledge and local understanding. And they've really focused on training. They've done visits. So the local team have visited the hubs and the hubs have visited the local teams. They join the focus days. So those focus days that I mentioned earlier, they're there and in situ at those a lot of the time so that it can really pick up and understand what matters to that community. So if you think of a region, there are lots of different communities within that. So if you live in a block of flats with lots of communal areas, you may have a different requirement for our engagement than if you live in a street with all individual homes with no shared space. So again, it's all about tailoring it to really understand the customer. The other thing we've done is around vulnerabilities training. So you will know that Awaab's law goes live on Monday, and that is a new law that's been brought in to off the back of the tragic incident where a young child died in a damp and mouldy social home. And there is a requirement, a legal requirement, that landlords respond to damp and mould and emergencies in the right time scale and provide certain bits of information to customers at certain times. But there's also a key link in there around vulnerabilities. The child that died there were questions around understanding of that family's vulnerabilities when the services were delivered. So we've done a lot of vulnerabilities training with our teams to ensure that up front they're really understanding how vulnerable the customer they're speaking to is. Recognition that vulnerabilities are not always permanent and not always visible, and they may be temporary. So how do we tailor the services temporarily for a customer? Maybe a customer's had an operation and has reduced mobility for 6 weeks during recovery, and how do we tailor the service for that customer during that 6-week period? Customers with young children, again, vulnerabilities, and how do we support customers with those young children, because we want to make sure that that's prioritized too. So there's not only a legal requirement that those things are done, there's also the drive that we want to tailor and ensure services deliver in the right way to customers. So a huge amount of work on diagnosing issues, making sure up front we understand the problem. You don't want us to come to your property 3 times to understand the issue. You want us to come once and fix it. So we've put some experts in our customer hub too. So some of our operatives are in the customer hub, and they can help diagnose those issues. As we develop our systems, your customers will be able to upload photos of things in their home too. That really helps us diagnose what's going on in that home so that we get it right first time. Understanding those vulnerabilities, whether they're temporary or permanent, and then making sure we meet the timescales that you expect and that the new legislation applies to us to ensure that we do the right thing. So really a huge amount of work's been ongoing for the last couple of years, and a lot of that comes into an end result that customers will feel middle of next year. And again, I'd say it's transformational in terms of system developments and investment from our perspective. And I'm sure, Craig, you've probably got some comments on that one too.
Well, I was going to make one comment, because you made a bit of a Freudian slip, which we talked about me wanting us to be the biggest nationally. I want us to be the best. I don't mind about size. Yes. I want us to be the best nationally, and I want us to be superb locally as well. So I'm just going to say that on the record. It's not about just being biggest at all. It doesn't matter about size in that respect. In terms of any comments to add, I think you've covered that rather nicely. So I think I am obliged at this stage to move towards calling time on today's session. It may surprise you to know that Lizzie and I really enjoy things like this, and the more of them that we can do and the more relaxed and free-flowing they get, the better. One of the things about customers and customer service to myself, and I can say the same for Lizzie, is we're quite lucky. Apart from having so many customers, it's the one thing that gives us the biggest buzz in life, really. We really like dealing with our customers and our people, if you like. And yes, we do take it personally when we've let people down, and we take it incredibly seriously, and we seek to put it right. That said, I think it's really exciting times. I think it's really, really exciting times, because we have made strides forward in terms of our resident engagement, in terms of listening to customers, in terms of improving our services because of the influence our customers have over the design of those services. But there is more to do. This new strategy sets us up for the next phase of that. It will not be job done when this strategy gets refreshed again, but it will be more challenging than the last strategy, and I'm confident our services will improve because of it. More importantly, the more of our customers that get involved and help us with delivering those improvements, the better, as far as I'm concerned. It just leaves me to say thank you to everyone who's organised this today. Thank you to Bonnie and Parag for being so kind as to put us through our paces. And most of all, thank you to you all for giving up your time this morning.